3-1 it would finish after France took that very early lead through Barcola, but Italy managing to get 3 back. And the result forces France to the bottom of the table. Italy moved top after this match day. Antoine Griezmann had this to say after the game: they were better than us, we weren't good at pressing nor defensively. I can't explain this. We started well with a lot of intent, but tactics-wise, we struggled. We need to review this. Well, let's welcome in a Frenchman, shall we? Frank Leboeuf is with us. Frank, I guess Italians do it better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And congratulations to them. And when Griezmann said that they started well for 20 seconds. And then after, it was all Italy for me. They played better. There are more chances. They were more accurate. They were more patient sometimes. France tried to have the position of the ball to be high on the field. But at the end of the day, except maybe one chance from Mbappe in the first half, they didn't create it more. And it wasn't enough. It was bad. It was tactically not very well thought. And again, you know, the Italians, they did what they had to do. I thought at first, really thought that Italy wasn't good enough the first half, and I said at some point France was going to go to another level, but it never happened. And Italy created the opportunities to a fantastic goal with Di Marco, and then after it went very well for them, and they did what they had to do. There is nothing much to say, but the fact that so many personals, individuals from France weren't there. Griezmann the first, we didn't see Mbappe that much. We have to talk about the Saliba defensive aspect in the third goal, but overall, I didn't see a good French team. Maybe Mike Maignan, and I want to talk to that about that because he conceded 3 goals, but he did his best. And because Shaka is there, you know, I want to be nice to the Union. But otherwise, you know, I don't see any players who satisfied me. Olise did well at the beginning, and Barcola as well, but little by little they disappeared.
Frank, we didn't see the best France in the Euros either. Is everything okay with them?
With who?
With France.
Oh, you know what? I don't know what's going on with France, and we will only talk about football, please. But yeah, no, it's not. But yeah, no, it's not going well. You know, people are questioning that whether Didier Deschamps should have stayed or not. I don't have an clear idea about that, but I don't know. I'm not sure that was the best team that Didier Deschamps could have put on. He pleased some players, but players are somehow not ready yet. And it wasn't the most effective French team that we saw so far. So yeah, nothing goes wrong. Let's say that it's a National League competition, which nobody cares, in fact. But when you play for your country, you always have to give your best.
It didn't go the way it looked like it was going to go after that early goal, did it, Ali?
No, and Frank just mentioned it. France were good for, a minute. And then after that, what was really surprising, and besides all the things that Frank has already mentioned, is how many times you saw Italy get out in transition where they win the ball in a good area, and now it's 3 against 2. 4 against 3, 5 against 4. It always seemed like Italy were in an advantageous position going on the attack, that there was no structure to France, that there was no organization to France, and that in fact, if Italy were able to complete one final pass more often than they did, or more consistently than they did, or making the right choice, this result actually would be worse. Italy had so many opportunities to get out in transition, to get out into open spaces, and France were nowhere to be found. That was surprising, because if there's one thing that you associate with Didier Deschamps, besides the fact that France has been very successful under him, is that this team has had structure. This team defensively has had discipline. There was very little discipline to this group, and through the midfield, a whole lot of space, a whole lot of ground to cover from N'Golo Kante, not a whole lot of help coming from anywhere else, and turnovers in bad areas. The organization wasn't there, the structure wasn't there, and of course, the result shows it.
Surprised with what you saw, Shaka?
Absolutely. Listen, I think just kind of continuing, and as you mentioned from the Euros from France, I expected so much more. I expected, especially on home turf, a better effort. And the way that the French gave the ball away cheaply under the Italian press really surprised me. And you can't help but wonder, and while, yes, to Frank's point, this is only a UEFA Nations League game, so you have to take that into some context, but on the back of what we saw this summer, you just wonder if all good things come to an end, and if this is maybe time for Didier Deschamps and a change. Now, while I say that, you also have to remind yourself that this is still a Didier Deschamps France that lost a World Cup final on penalties. So you have to kind of weigh those successes with maybe where we are right now and just wonder what's the next step for the French national team.
Because there's so much star power in this side, Herc.
Yeah, easily. It's easily one of the top player pools in the world, if not the top for my money, with all the talent they have. But Shaq's right, there are cycles to everything, and this ridiculous French team that's been in so many finals throughout the years and playing in a very pragmatic, simple way was always discipline and structure. I thought I was going to see this version of N'Golo Kante at the Euros, and he was fantastic. I saw a version that I thought I would see tonight. There was a play when Sandro Tonali, down the left-hand side, put the jets on him, and I'm like, what's going on here? It was like Kylian Mbappe was going against a regular player. It created some separation that I just couldn't believe with N'Golo Kante. Fofana, cheaply giving up the ball time after time. And what's worse is now you have players, what I think, almost taking shots at the shops. When Griezmann's talking about no press, tactically inept, I mean, that's a shot at the coach right there. And it must be in the air, because we saw Pedri taking shots at, Xavi Hernandez earlier, who's no longer there, that now they work with a different intensity, things they weren't doing before. It's almost like these players are screaming for a different type of leadership. But tonight, I saw a French team that never got out of first gear. You have some of the most explosive players in the world, one of the best playmakers in the world in a Kylian Mbappe, who is used to playing in a central position, who was nullified by a very, very smart Italian team. And Luciano Spalletti, I mean, halftime, they're in a situation where he's got to make a move, and he's very aggressive. Along with Rugetti, Raspadori comes on, it's 2 9s. And all of a sudden, you're in a position where Fofana and Kante are outnumbered in the midfield. But it's having a field day. Ale spoke about these transitions. They're not really pressing in great areas. They're pressing in their own midfield, winning the ball, transition, and it's one-way football. I thought it was excellent from Spalletti, and it was really a showcase of how coaching matters.
How do you think those comments will be received, Frank, by Griezmann in France?
Well, sometimes you have questions asked to yourself, and sometimes you're the first guilty, and you have to answer. You have to say, yeah, we weren't good enough, but he should have had, me the first, and it wasn't good enough. We didn't see the Griezmann that I know that played for Atletico Madrid and been absolutely excellent and fantastic last season. That wasn't the case today. He wasn't there. We didn't see him. I was expecting him getting out after the first half, because he was completely transparent, and of course he wasn't the only one. What I see on the social network now is I think it's maybe too much for Didier Deschamps. So he's going to be the first on the line, that's for sure. But the players, they have to look at themselves, and what they showed to the world today is clearly not enough, and can be disrespectful for the national team. You have to play, and I mentioned that it's a National League competition, but at the end of the day, again, you play for your country. So if not, you're not interested. If you're not ready, because it's the beginning of the season, you shouldn't play. You should say to the coach, I'm not ready. So play another guy who can play 100%, but you play for your country. You don't play only for a team, for just a color, you play for your country. So you have to be good. If you're not ready, don't play. And some players weren't ready.
Frank, the guys were discussing Mbappe's comments before the game on yesterday's show and what he had to say about where he is right now. He said, I'm in a place where I've always wanted to be. Last year there was a bit of distance. All my career I have hated losing. Last year I just liked winning. Now I am back in that mindset of hating failure. Now, Dan put it to the panel yesterday that reading between the lines, it sounds as if he wasn't really bothered with losing as much last year. Would that be a fair interpretation?
Yeah, well, we all know that Dan is a little bit twisted, so at some point, so we know that he will have that reaction. He's a journalist after all, and I understand what he means, and I love him for that because he's a funny guy and very clever. But I don't understand what Mbappe really wants to mean. I really think that when you want to be positive, you want to enjoy winning. Hating failure, I understand that, but it puts the pressure on you, and sometimes it doesn't develop your instinct of killing the other. So I don't really know what it means. I don't read between the lines. He wants to tell us that he went back to his best, which I think, and what I see, is not the case right now. It's not the Mbappe that I saw like 2 or 3 years ago. For sure, it's not. He's not explosive anymore. He tries too much to force and to score goals. So it's not the Mbappe that I've seen a lot with Paris Saint-Germain before with Monaco. And he's only 24. It's not like he's at the end of his career. He's there. I think he's preparing physically. He's wandering too much when he plays for Madrid. Today, he didn't play the same position. I was wondering when he was playing. Was he a number 10? Like his shirt says, or was he a number 9? He was stepping on Griezmann's feet a little bit at some point. So you have to clarify his positioning, because for me, it's not clear. We don't know where he plays. He's not efficient like he used to be. And, well, I don't care if he hates failure or if he loves winning, but be productive.
Is Dan so cheeky? What would you read between the lines?
Well, I think those are two different questions. Yes, Dan is that bad, yes. As it pertains to Kylian Mbappe, and it's noticeable with Real Madrid, it's noticeable with France, and it's a discussion that we've had in the past, is how much in this part of his career he's trying to come to the ball and show us how much he can play make, how much he can find the final pass, how much he can combine from a playmaking position. And what I would tell him if I were his manager is, look, I know you're a great player. Everybody knows that you're a great player. You don't have to show me that. What I need you to do for me is, how about you test that back line over there? How about diagonal movements? How about runs in behind? How about that change of pace? Create separation over there. Not here, over there. Over here, let Griezmann do that. Let others do that. Over there, in between the center backs, off the shoulder center backs, into wide areas. That's where I think he is one of the best players in the world. Not playmaking. Playmaking, you're doing a favor to center backs. You're doing a favor to back lines. Because the further away that you're from goal, the more comfortable they are. You think if you're a center back, whoever it may be, today, whoever, you name whoever you want, Calafiori. We'll just say Calafiori because Don says he's a beautiful runner. Okay? You think Calafiori is more comfortable with Mbappe off his shoulder or Mbappe over there 20 yards away trying to play make? Well, of course. If you want to play make over there, great. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kylian. You're not hurting me there. You're not hurting our team there. Get over here in between center backs and diagonal movement and runs in behind and use that physicality and that speed to create that separation. That's where he becomes one of the best players in the world. Not because you can complete 5-yard passes and give and goes.